Are you in the group? Are you in the group thing for when we have the class? Are you in the group? Yeah. And then I don't know if it's going to be the same time. I don't know what my schedule yet is going to be. I can always text you. You can text me if it works for you. Based on your schedule. Are you going to be? You'll be around. You'll be wherever you're. Okay.
I'll get your number. You can send it to.
Okay. Good morning. Just
But you on the Zoom class, right? You on the WhatsApp group.
good morning, everybody. I mean, here we are before Pesach. You have to remember that the point of coming out of Mitzrayim, why we came out of Egypt, was because for the purpose of giving us the Torah. That was the purpose. Hashem said, and the question was asked and Hashem said that even though the Jewish people are not worthy now, based on their actions, to be free, because they are worshiping idols, or they just got rid of worshiping the idols by the slaughtering of the Korban Pesach. But they still were not yet where they needed to be. But Hashem said, I'm taking them out because of the future. Because the future, what they're going to do in the future, they're gonna serve Hashem on this mountain, on the mountain of Sinai. That's going to be the reason why they're worthy to be taken out. Sometimes Hashem does things to people, not because of what they have accomplished in the past, because what Hashem expects them to accomplish in the future. And that was the idea with the Jewish people. Hashem was banking on the future because they're going to accept the Torah, and they accepted the Torah with Na'aseh v'Nishma. They accepted the Torah with a great desire. They said, we're ready to do, and just tell us what we need to do. Not that they said, first tell us, let's see if we want it, if we don't want it. Said, Na'aseh, we're ready to roll. Whatever you want, God. Just tell us what we need to do. And it's interesting if you even look at the matzos. Matzos is the same spelling of mitzvos. It's called Chag HaMatzos. But really, you have to remember, alluded in Chag HaMatzos, it's Chag HaMitzvos. It's the same letters, but that's what it's all about. The Chag HaMatzos, the going out of Egypt, is all about the Chag, it's all about the mitzvos. You know, Chazal say, you know, Shemartem es HaMatzos. You should watch the matzos. Al tikri matzos, don't read it matzos. The Chazal say, read it mitzvos. Mitzvah b'aliyotcha, mitzvah comes to your hand. Al tachmisena. Don't let it become hummus. Don't let it become sour. Don't lose that opportunity. So we see Chazal themselves point out the message of mitzvos in the word matzos. And therefore, that's what we need to remember. A physical freedom without a spiritual freedom is not a complete freedom. Physical without spiritual is not complete. You have to we need to be both physically, the greatness is to be both physically and spiritually free. And the truth of the matter is, if we're not physically free and we're spiritually free, we're much greater than being physically free and not spiritually free. Many Jewish people, when they opened up, they gave rights to Jewish communities. What happened was they became like the Goyim. They became assimilated. And when they didn't have certain rights and they were stuck, and, so to speak, as a Jew with limitations and less freedoms, less abilities, they remained stronger. So not always does the physical freedom carry with it the spiritual freedom. And that's why the Rashba says in the beginning of the Haggadah, we say, Hashata Hacha L'shana Haba Ba'ara D'Yisrael. We open up the Haggadah. Today we are here. L'shana Haba, next year, Ba'ara D'Yisrael. If you want to send that to the group that we're on, we're very good. Then they say Hashata Avdei, now we're servants. Next year, B'nai Chorin. L'shana haba B'nai Chorin. Next year will be free. So the Rashba asks, it sounds repetitive. Now we are here. L'shana haba, next year, we're going to be in the Holy Land. We're praying to Hashem. We should be in the Holy Land, Aradis. Hashota Avdei, now we are servants. And L'shana haba, and next year, we should be B'nai Chorin. We should be free. Doesn't that mean free meaning going to the Holy Land? So we have two requests, but they seem to be saying the same thing. Mr. Safdie, is that clear, the question, Rashba? The Rashba has a beautiful answer. You're going to love the answer. Hashot Eretz Yisrael, when we ask for Arad Yisrael, we're asking to go to the land of Israel. The land of Israel represents holiness, Kedusha. Like when it says, when Chazal say, when Moshe Rabbeinu prayed so many times, he wants to go to Eretz Yisrael. Why do you think he wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael? He wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael because of the beautiful fruits in Eretz Yisrael? No. He wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael to be able to keep all the mitzvos that you can't keep outside of Eretz Yisrael. You don't have the mitzvah of Shemitah. You don't have other mitzvos that are specific in the land of Israel. So when they ask, the first thing we ask is we should be La'arad Yisrael in the Jewish land, the Holy Land. We're asking for spiritual freedom. Now we want to be in the Holy Land. Why? Because we want to do Torah and mitzvot at its highest level, at its greatest level. That's the first thing we request. But the second, after we request spiritual freedom, spiritual growth, which is the primary, then we ask for physical freedom. Hashata Avdei, then we ask for physical freedom. There's two types of freedoms. It's physical and the spiritual. And we need both. Because the physical freedom gives us more opportunity to have the spiritual freedom. Because when physical freedom gives us more opportunity to have spiritual freedom. Because if we're physically free, then now we're in the right place. Now we have more time on our hands. We're not serving the king of the moment. That's why Hashem says, I don't want people to be slaves. Because if you're a slave, then you're focused on your master. You're not focused on God. You're too subjugated to your master and not subjugated to God. If Hashem said, we got to pierce the ear. Good morning. We got to pierce the ear of the person that heard on Har Sinai. He's li'avadim, be slaves to me, and not slaves to other people. And you went ahead and you sold this, and you willingly, after 6 years, you wanted to be a slave. And that's what we need to realize. We need to be free, both physically, both spiritually. The 4 cups of wine we have at the Seder. The 4 cups of wine at the Seder correspond to, we know, the 4 languages of Geula, the 4 languages of redemption. I'm going to take you out from the difficulties of Mitzrayim. I'm going to take you out from, you don't have to work morning and Mars. You're not going to have to work for them at all. Meaning, even if you, like Torah Tamima explains, these are 4 different stages. The first stage is, I'm going to take you out from the Sivos Mitzrayim. There was the hard work in Egypt. I got to take you out from the hard work in Egypt. After I take you out from the hard work in Egypt, there's another level, but you shouldn't have to work at all. I'm going to take you out. I'm going to save you. You don't have to work for them. But even though you don't have to work for them, you don't have to work, but you're still slaves in Egypt. So then it's v'ga'alti eschem. I'm going to redeem you. We're going to leave the country. But even when you leave the country, it's still not enough. Because if you're not spiritually free and you're physically free, it's not enough. Therefore, it says, "Lakachti eschem li la'am." I'm going to take you to me as a nation. That's going to be the freedom. That being a nation and having the Torah, that completes the freedom. And maybe that's the order that it needed to be. First, I got to get you out physically. Once I get you out physically, we just said there are four. You need anything, Mr. Seven? There are four language. You need more paper or not? You have anyone have any paper? There's four languages of there's four languages. Usually I have my notebook with me. I don't have it. There's four languages of Geula, right? There's Stacey and 10. It says Stacey and 10 right? One second. Anybody have any? Do you have any paper? One thing, I got something good here. I got an envelope. Envelope is good. Should be good. It's not my envelope. One second. You good? Okay. Well, here's it. CCSM, we said there's four languages of Geula. The first three discuss the way the Turtim explains the physical freedom. I'm going to take you off from the hard work. I'm going to take you out that you don't have to work at all. Then I'm going to take you out of the country. That's physical freedom. Otseisi, Vitzalti, Vigalti. If you look at the words of the pasuk, it's referring to the physical freedoms. But number 4 is Lokachti Eschem Lilam. I'm going to take you out as a nation. It means the freedom is not complete if you don't have the Torah. It says, Ein lecha ben chorin. There's no free person, alamisha osek b'Torah. We who study Torah right here, right now, we are free. People who study Torah, people have the Torah, they're free. There are a lot of people walking in the streets, they're not free. There are a lot of Jewish people that are not free. Rabbi, what do you mean they're not free? They have the freedoms. They're walking in the street, but they're not free. Why are they not free? Because they don't have Torah in their life. If they don't have Torah in their life, then what happens is they're under the jurisdiction of the Yetzer Hara, under jurisdiction of the evil inclination, and they're not free. So therefore, we have to also think about the fact that going out of Mitzrayim is the thing that gave us the opportunity to get the Torah, which is the real freedom. And therefore, we're going to start counting. The second night of Pesach, we start counting Sfira Sa'omer. What are we counting? We're counting towards Matan Torah. We're counting towards the giving of the Torah. We count 49 days to the 50th day. Because there's a direct connection between the coming out of Mitzrayim and Matan Torah and the giving of the Torah. Because that's the whole purpose. The whole purpose of the coming out of Mitzrayim, the whole purpose was that we should go ahead and receive the Torah. So therefore, but that's why Hashem gave the mitzvah of counting, specifically the second night of Pesach, that you should recognize that's the point of being free. You know, when the Russian Jewry came to America 30 years ago, and they became free after all the years, you know, maybe they weren't able to leave the country. But it's not complete just that they should come to America, come to Israel. Freedom is only really complete if they actually look at Torah and mitzvot. I think that's what I wanted to say by Yisro. Yitro said, Baruch Hashem, Asher hitzel eschem mitachas sivot Mitzrayim, Asher hitzel esam. Yitro talks about two types of savings that Hashem did for the Jewish people. He speaks about that he saved you physically, you can explain it. And he also says, remained a nation. Spoke about the spiritual freedom. So that's and therefore that's the idea also. We're celebrating the freedom. Therefore, we got to make sure freedom coming out of the physical freedom. We're coming out of Mitzrayim. Maybe that's something to think about. That the purpose of the physical freedom was to be more to focus. Now I could be an Eved of Hashem instead of being servant of Karo, to be an Eved Hashem. And therefore, we're going to have 4 cups of wine. We need to recline our left side. 4 cups of wine represent that freedom that we will redeem. and therefore we recline on our left side. We get some good wine to drink. What? Yeah, a little bit more to the left. Yeah, against let's say the arm of the chair, because you want to lean on something. If you don't have an armchair, then just turn the chair around. So therefore you go ahead, and therefore the left will have the back of the chair to your left. That's it's something. It's something because you're leaning on. But I would have to look that up. But I would say lean more better towards on something. Yeah, that to the left. Leaning to the left by the 4 cups of wine. We need to lean by the 4 cups of wine. We need to lean by the matzah and the sandwich. Those are the three places that we need to lean on the left. The matzos, the sandwich, the korech, and 4 cups of wine.
And that is because
But that's the way free people would, that's the way that a way to celebrate or to relax. A free man relaxes in such a way. Therefore, they want us to feel that. Also we have to feel that also as if we went out of Egypt, right? We have to feel as if we went out of Egypt. So one of the ways you could also do that is by when you recline, by reclining and having 4 cups of wine, and you're reclining, you are, so to speak, like reliving the experience. And there's this concept that a person has to see himself as if he went out of Mitzrayim. That's how a person needs to look at himself. Chayiv Adam Liros Es Atzmo. A person needs to look at himself as if he went out right now from Mitzrayim. And therefore, we do certain things that makes us feel that way, that we came out of Mitzrayim, and that's the reclining. Some of the things that we do, the 4 cups of wine, helps us. Now, some people, my father-in-law, Rabbi London, what he does at that point in the Haggadah, what he did when he was alive, when it says Chayiv Adam Liros, but the Rambam, he did the following. But the Rambam has a text. The person has to show himself as if he went out of Mitzrayim. So now the way we say you're showing yourself, you have this pillow, or you're reclining on the left side, you're showing yourself, and also the whole majestic meal that you're having, and the whole table set so nicely and shows you're celebrating. He would say, let's get out of here. We have to go. And they would put like a pillow on the shoulder, and would reenact. We're all leaving, and everybody, whoever's at the Seder that's in the house at the time, everybody gets up, and they leave. They go to another room. They go somewhere else in the house. They go to just show as if they went out of. That was his personal custom. That right. It sounds like that we went out of Egypt. We have to feel as if we went out of that's what it would seem to be, as if we went out of Egypt, even though we did not go out of Egypt, but we have to look at ourselves as if Hashem took us out of Egypt. Now, I heard from Rabbi Spiegel said from his father that we say in the Haggadah, if Hashem would not have taken our if Hashem would not have taken our ancestors out from Egypt, we, Banenu, and our children, and we will all be Mishubadim, we will all be some sort of responsible, or the way many people translate it, that we would still be slaves to Paro. And the obvious question is, we see in the world that slavery has gone away. That slavery is not really around in most parts of the world. It's away, right? You say there's still slavery somewhere in the world? Where, in Africa?
In the Middle East.
The Middle East, there's still slaves?
There's a lot of, I have worked with people who died on escape.
There is some slavery around. But he wanted to say a different idea. He wanted to say that maybe Mishubadim means to be indebted. That if Hashem would not have taken, if Hashem would not have, I mean, I think the literal meaning is like is that we would have been slaves, but others learn that we would have been indebted to Paro. Meaning to say, indebted would mean that if Hashem would not have taken us out of Egypt, and eventually we would have become free, like other nations, other people that were slaves that became free, then who would, if Paro would have made us free, then we have to show our appreciation to Paro. But now it wasn't Paro who made us free. Hashem made us free. So our appreciation is to Hashem. So if Hashem would not have taken us out of Mitzrayim, and what would have happened? And Paro would have sent us out at one point in history, then we would be indebted. We would owe thanks to like the slaves owe a thanks to Lincoln, to President Lincoln. They're indebted to President Lincoln for what they did, what he did. They freed the slaves. So we would be indebted to Paro, Melech Mitzrayim. But now that Hashem took us out of Egypt, so therefore we are indebted to Hashem. And the purpose why Hashem took us out of Egypt is in order that we should be serving Hashem. And therefore we need, I think the way the Aruch HaShulchan's Haggadah he explains, we need to look at ourselves as if we came out of Egypt. And if we look at ourselves as we came out of Egypt, that means we now are serving Hashem, because Hashem took us out. And now we are now supposed to be, he's now the master. He took us out. So now Paro was our master. Now if we look at ourselves that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, and therefore we became avodim to Hashem. If we're an eved to Hashem, that means to do what? To follow the Torah and the mitzvot. That's what the purpose of taking us out of Egypt. That we should be an eved of Hashem. What are we going to say in the Hallel? Hallel Hashem, Hallel Avdei Hashem, right? That we say in the Hallel. We talk about Avdei Hashem. We are, there's a song, Ano Avdei Kudsha Baruch Hu. They sing in a Simchas Torah. You're an Eved of Hashem. Vayomas Moshe Eved Hashem. One of the greatest titles that were given to Moshe Rabbeinu was what? He was an Eved Hashem. What does an Eved mean? I'm a servant. I work for a master. I have a master. That's the whole purpose of Hashem, and therefore of coming out of Egypt, that we should be an Eved Hashem. And remember, being an Eved Hashem, serving Hashem, who's the big winner, Morris? You are. Meaning to be a servant for Hashem is not about you're doing Hashem a favor. You're doing yourself a favor. When you are a servant of Hashem, you're doing yourself a great favor, because it's going to make you a better person. That's, he's going to give you great things. It's going to happen to you. You'll have a great next world, Olam Haba, paradise, and you'll have a very productive this world as well. And it'll make you, the Torah makes a person a different type of person. So Hashem gave, that's why a Torah is prepared to it. It's called an Eish Das. It's called a fiery Torah. Just like fire purifies the metals, takes away anything. We have to talk to Mr. Safdie about that. Maybe he has a little insight on the metals. So too, that's what the Torah does for all of us. It purifies us. Somebody told me, Rabbi, someone who's on the way, he's becoming a Baal Tshuva, told me yesterday, Rabbi, I want you to know I'm a different person. Ever since I started learning, how do you like that, Daniel? How do you like that? I'm a different person. I'm a different person. He said he's grown a lot. Like a mother of a Baal Tshuva one morning. A mother, make yourself comfortable. A mother of Baal Tshuva said to me, Rabbi, my son, since he became a Baal Tshuva, he's a total different, you need more paper, more envelope? He's a much different person. It's different. That's what the Torah is supposed to go ahead and do for a person, and that's what it did. You know, we eat Mara. We have a special mitzvah when in our Torah, when they had the Korban Pesach, the Pesach offering, we had a special mitzvah of Mara to eat with the Korban Pesach. And today, outside now, we don't have the Beis HaMikdash. You have a rabbinic mitzvah to eat Mara. You might ask the question, Mara, why is it that Mara, which is bitter, is part and parcel to the celebration, and when we're celebrating the going out of Egypt, which is such a happy time. This is happy time. We're reclining, taking our nice utensils, Pesach utensils out. Why does Hashem give us the mitzvah of Mara? Bitter. You know, maybe we should talk about Tisha B'Av. Maybe on Tisha B'Av we should talk about the hardships in Egypt. You know, in the Haggadah we talk about Elu Habonim, talk about what they did, you know, the difficulties that they did to the Jewish community. Why do we need to talk? Why did Hashem say to talk about it on Pesach? You know, we don't like to say bad news on Shabbat, Yom Tov. It's a happy time. So why in this time period? You like the question? You buy the question. What's your name? Jordan what? Hikmati. That's the question. So, by the way, you can speak up. Don't feel intimidated by this little piece of machinery over here. So, Rabbeinu Bachaye, when this Pashas Kisavo, when he explains by the Bikurim, when the person brings the first fruits, that's where when the person brings the first fruits, he says, Arami Oviravi, there's going to be a minyan, the next minyan is going to be upstairs. Are you in a particular rush? Because the next minyan the first minyan should be over any minute now. Is the second minyan 7:30 or 7:40? 7:30. 7:30, second minyan. They had a minyan upstairs. First minyan 6:30, second minyan 7:30. Each minyan there'll be a siyum for Bechorim. 7:30 should end at about 10 after 8. 10 after 8, quarter after 8. Okay. So we know when a person brings the first fruits, what does he say? He makes this whole declaration about Arami Ovid Avi. We went to Mitzrayim. He makes this whole declaration, which the Haggadah, the meat and the potatoes of the mitzvah of Haggadah, talks about these psukim that were stated by the person who brought the first fruits. And the person who brought the first fruits, he says, Arami Ovid Avi. He says, Lavan tried to destroy Yaakov, and eventually went down to Egypt, and we had trouble there, and we cried out to Hashem. And Rabbeinu Bachaye says, why does a person, when he brings his first fruits, why does he talk about the past, the difficulties? So he says, when you talk about the difficulties in the past, then you can appreciate the present much more. Because when you recognize, you think, you remember, you know what, it wasn't always so good. I did not always have the land of Israel. We were once in bondage, we were once enslaved. And now you talk about, and thank God you brought me to the land of Israel, and we're so thankful. If we don't think about the times that when we didn't have those things, we're not going to appreciate so much now what we have. People that are born with a golden spoon, whatever the expression is, they sometimes don't know what it means not to be poor. A guy who was once poor, a guy who never had $1 in the bank, then today he has $1 in the bank, he's appreciative. He has $1. He remembers when he didn't have $1 in the bank. He remembers when he had to work 18-hour days and he had to run from job to job. And now he's able to, thank God, he's able to have a little lighter schedule. He's appreciative. So that's the idea, the same idea in Haggadah, perhaps. We need to talk about the Mara. We need to talk about the difficult times in our past. Because by talking about the difficult, the next minyan is 7:30 upstairs. Oh, very good. So, but by talking about the difficult times, we appreciate now that we don't have those bitterness. We appreciate, and therefore, I think therefore that's perhaps why the Chazal wanted us to feel the bitterness, eat the maror and taste the maror. Don't just throw the maror down without chewing it. Chew the maror, taste it, feel it, and appreciate that you have what you have today. That you don't have this problem today. So maror, we use about an ounce of maror each. I think for the korech, for the sandwich, we use like 0.7 of an ounce, and maybe 3/4 of an ounce around. That's how. I don't know what the Sfardim do, but Ashkenazim about 3/4 ounce for the korech, about an ounce for the what I recall for the maror by itself. Now, somebody told me, I saw a Sephardi guy, I don't know how religious he is, and he told me that they're using red horseradish. And with red horseradish, might not be, they use white by you, correct? What do you use? What do you use? Use the lettuce, the what do you use? Roman lettuce. Okay, but the guy, that sounds, people need to ask the post. I mean, to use red horseradish doesn't seem to be, it doesn't, but I don't know how religious he is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't think, but I told them it doesn't seem so, but I didn't look into the matter properly, but I just want to say, maybe they look at, the advertisers for this horseradish. I think they're using it. Maybe they make the mistake. They think horseradish for the fish, or whatever. They're using it for the maror, but it's not, because they should be the white. It shouldn't be diluted with these beets and all that stuff. That's not the way the maror. What right? Am I correct? What did you use by you? Because we have to look at the halacha. The people need to know it has to be done. Right. The issue with the Roman lettuce, you have to be aware, is Roman lettuce historically has a problem with bugs. Right. So you have to be careful. Right. You have to be careful. If you want to go ahead and you buy fresh romaine lettuce, watch out. Watch out. You have to spend a lot of time to properly clean it from the bugs. That was my job many years ago, to deal with the romaine lettuce, and it wasn't pretty. I would catch all these bugs on the romaine lettuce. You have to be aware. So many people have these lettuce that are grown in places that there's, what do they call, greenhouse lettuce, whatever it is, certain things. But there's a word for it, Morris. Was it that there's no bugs there? They have some sort of way that, so that's most probably the best way to go with the lettuce. If you use it, we use potatoes. If you use celery, with okay, whatever works. But remember, you mentioned about also when you say the bracha on the karpas, you need to have in mind that to cover the maror that you can have later on. But there's a question if you need to say a borei pri adama on the maror, even though you washed, because maybe it's not considered a meal food. It's not part of the meal. It's not going to be exempt from a bracha with the hamotzi. That's if you have in mind when you say the bracha of hamotzi, when you say bracha of borei pri adama, that it should also cover that. That's a very important thing. Morning. You can even if you have a big hefsek. If I didn't leave the building, and also I'm coming. Even I left the building, as long as I'm with other people at the table, then I have to come back here. Meaning it's not called. If I go ahead and make a borei pri adama right now, okay, Mr. Safdie, and then I have in mind, I'm sitting at the table, and I'm going to be eating for the next 3 hours. So it covers, just like Shavuos night. The Bavadia has a whole thing. Shavuos night, I say a shakol and a drink. That shakol and a drink should cover me. Good morning. Should cover me. The next minyan is upstairs, by the way. Oh, you finished. It's upstairs. I'm making the siyum upstairs. I think so. You can ask. It's can ask. No, two siyum. After each minyan, there should be a siyum. What? Now remember, what'd you say? I would think so. I would think so, if you need to do that. But just don't, you can have a drink of water, you don't eat before, and get something from the siyum and eat it after the minyan. But we don't eat before the minyan. You can have a tea, you can have coffee. If you want to have the siyum and have a coffee, there should be coffee there or tea. But you can have a tea or coffee before Shacharit. So if you want to go to the siyum and break it over a tea or coffee, no problem. Thank you for joining. We have a shiur every day, 6:45 to 7:25. Every day we have minutes anytime you want to come in. Now we also have to remember the special changes in the davening. The first day we're gonna be doing tal. They're gonna be by Musaf. They're gonna start saying tal. Number one, so you got to be aware of that. No more mashiv. Starting by depending what your minhag. When do you start saying tal? Either by Musaf or by Mincha. You have to know. But by Musaf, everyone starts because they announce it before the Musaf. So they say tal. So therefore, they start saying Morid tal by Musaf the first day of the holiday. If a guy doesn't show up to shul the first day of the holiday, he doesn't even know there's a change. Then he's going to forget. He's not going to say tal, and he's going to make a mistake by Mincha and Arvid. Also, you have to remember Ya'aleh v'yavo Chalamoed. If you don't say Ya'aleh v'yavo in the Amidah, you have to repeat the Amidah. Both in Shachrit, Mincha, and Arvid. There's a difference on Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh, if you forgot Ya'aleh v'yavo on Rosh Chodesh, it depends. Shachrit and Mincha, you have to repeat the Amidah. Arvid, you don't repeat. Is that correct? There's a difference. But here, if you don't get the Ya'aleh v'yavo, you will have to repeat the Amidah. Any of the three davenings. You have to remember to be on top of your game. Also, there's a very special Motzei Shabbat, Saturday night. There's a special Kiddush, which we call Yak Nahaz. Yayin, Kiddush, Ner, Havdalah, and Zman. There's you say Bor Pri Gofen, you say the Kiddush, you say Havdalah, you say Bori Mor Ha'esh, and you say Shechianu. Also, you need to tell the women and yourself if you're going to do Malacha, Motzei Shabbat. After Motzei Shabbat, Saturday night, if they want to, let's say, they have to wait until Shabbat is over, and now it's Yom Tov. If they want to do anything with the fire, do anything, like we only use a pre-existing fire on Yom Tov, but they say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh LeKodesh. They say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh LeKodesh before they go ahead and they do any type of malacha. That's what they need to recognize. Also, people need to know it's not just you take a little bite of the hamotzi of the matzah. There's a certain shiur that people need to have, and also it's important to note that when you say the bracha al achilat matzah, try not to talk anything until after you finish the sandwich, and because that bracha of achilat matzah should go also on that. It goes on the korech as well. Similarly, the bracha of the mora is also going for what you're going to have during the korech as well. We have to also be very excited about this time period. It's a very happy time period. It's a Zman Simchaseinu, it's a special mitzvah of Simcha, and we have to make sure that we're very happy on the Yom Tov. It's a samachta b'chagecha. We have to make sure if someone's married, that the wife is happy. If they have children, that the children should be happy. For the children, we buy sweets. If someone has grandchildren, you buy sweets for the grandchildren. For one's wife, they should get something new for the holiday. For yourself, make sure you get some good wine. Make sure you have a nice, good Haggadah that you're happy with. Today is a long day. If you have any time, maybe take a little nap during the day to be able to have the strength to have a beautiful Seder. Remember, because it's Zman Simchateinu, it's such a happy time, the Yetzer Hara wants people to get upset. That's his job, to get people upset. Because if the mitzvah is to be happy, what does he want us to do? To get upset. So we have to make sure we tremendous simcha, and we take that simcha. When you do a mitzvah with simcha, it brings us to great levels. So I want to wish everyone a Chag Kosher v'Sameach, and all the best to everybody. Thank you for joining in. Thank you.